Hello, welcome back to the Sign Makers Village. Do come and join us if you're walking around. We're going to be asking the coach. It's our third and final Ask the Coach session. I think they've gone pretty well so far.
Yeah, it's been good.
No one's stumped you yet.
No.
Someone's got to stump you. There's a challenge out there. Anyway, this session, you're being joined by Sam Yarnall from Clarity Software. So I guess you're going to talk a little bit about management information systems.
I think we have to, yeah.
But shall we kick off? I'm going to hand the mic to you and you sort of introduce yourselves.
I'm Sam, Clarity Software. So we provide MIS to the graphics industry, and that's why we're here. So I'm just open to any questions and just have a chat about that and just see how we help businesses.
And I'm Colin Sinclair McDermott, the online print coach. Third session here at the show. And there's been some really good conversations had so far. So we obviously do a little bit of work together anyway. But yeah, I guess what is an MIS platform? Because strangely enough, I still come across a lot of businesses just now who haven't made that jump to being a little bit more organised.
Yeah, absolutely. And we come across it every day. You know, there's so many businesses that are scaling and successfully without an MIS, and it always amazes me. And these businesses have scaled through Excel spreadsheets, and you just kind of go, and I've seen some bloody good Excel spreadsheets in my time, but what happens is the Excel spreadsheet's born, created, but then it's duplication onto a Word doc to send out quotation. It's the version changes. It's all of that. So the management information system, the MIS, comes into play where we just provide that single source of truth. You're putting the data in once, and then it's just following that journey then from the contact relation at the beginning, so the requirement, then kind of just tracking that through until the client gets paid.
Yeah.
It's just one solution as opposed to sometimes 6 or 7, where they just kind of, the data gets misinterpreted, gets lost, jobs go out wrong because 0 looks like an 8 it's been handwritten. So that's where we come in.
Yeah. I'm certainly, I've sent probably 2 or 3 people your way this last couple of weeks, but they're at exactly that point. They're stunting their growth, and actually they need to move to the next level, and that's obviously where you guys kick in. Interestingly, one of the presentations I'm giving later on is about kind of getting more out of your existing database. I think a lot of businesses focused so much on going out there and trying to find new business without actually making the most of the database that they've already got. And I'm guessing a good MIS platform is going to allow you just to do that. Like, what kind of reporting and stuff do you guys see businesses taking advantage of the most to enhance that lifetime value of the current customer base?
Yeah, absolutely. And a good example that I've got is I went out to see a business in Manchester, and I'm not going to name it. And they were on the verge of recruiting a marketing person to just marketing to drive new business.
Yeah.
Because businesses believe that, we need more clients, we need more business. But actually, I said to him, do you understand the data that you've got using Clarity?
Yeah.
An existing Clarity user. And he said, well, what do you mean? And within our particular MIS, we have a sales module, which basically allows you to analyze all of your outstanding quotes. So all these quotations that have been created, there's been a need that maybe have forgotten and followed, just drifted, just forgotten about, life happens. And I actually run a report in his Clarity database, and he had just over £2 million worth of business that he'd quoted and had to followed up. So I was like, you don't actually need a marketing module. You don't need, to recruit anyone in marketing. What you actually need to do is utilize the system that you've got in place and just take advantage of the reporting. I mean, that's just one example, but within Clarity particularly, any user field that's in there, you can look up and kind of have a look at the data and see trends, who hasn't bought from you, who's actively buying from you, who are your tire kickers, we get a lot of them around. And it just helps you to kind of focus where you need to focus instead of just getting distracted by things that actually are generating you any revenue.
Yeah, for sure. Do we have any questions from the audience? Sure, Jack's got one for us.
Is that Jordy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I read a lot of the articles and presentations you give, Colin, and you talk a lot about time. But you also talk a lot about what you've just said, mining the information you've got, taking. I mean, is that part of the advice that you give? So how would you sort of explain that to maybe your coaching clients, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's working with the data, kind of like you touched on there, like looking at the lapsed clients, looking at the clients that are perhaps more profitable. And you need an MIS, a good MIS system like Clarity, to do just that as well. Again, you hear me say it all the time. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. And again, if you've got automatic reports, because you guys will have the system set up for all the obvious things that come to us, but these are all missed opportunities. Like, so many businesses spend so much time looking forwards, and actually the progress they're looking for is actually sitting right behind them. They're just not utilizing that data. So, I see this all the time, and like, they're just leaving money on the table. Like, I've seen businesses implement some of these things using some of these reports, and they're seeing immediate growth of as much as 30-40% within a matter of months. They're just missing opportunities. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for what solution you guys provide.
I guess there's a little bit of fear for people that if they haven't got a system already, they're using spreadsheets or whatever, or they do have a system they've been using for many years. There's a fear about saying, "Oh, it's such a big thing." How do you sort of get over that with people that you talk to?
It's having a chat with him in the first instance. There's always a fear. We actually call it the clarity cliff. So they're kind of on the edge looking over into it thinking, shall we make the jump? Shall we not? And sometimes it's an easy persuasion because it's a lot of business owners are so in the business, they're so heavily reliant on to still check quotes. Staff don't have the free rein to go and do it because they don't have that peace of mind that they're making enough money. So there's so many business owners that are working in the business instead of on the business. So I focus there. There's so much more value that business owners could be doing out of the business. So we just encourage them, and the credibility of the brand as well. That helps us massively. Everyone was in that situation in the first instance on that Clarity Cliff looking over. So, it's just the credibility of the brand. We've got many users, so that helps. But it's also the reassurance piece that we've been in the game a long time. We know that business owners are going to struggle, and a lot of it is control. A lot of it is fear. I think when you put the system in place and then you start to wean them away from what's in their head or on scrap bits of paper, and they start to see the benefits quite quickly, then it becomes quite a, it's easier then to adopt and bring into the business.
Because that is a problem. A lot of people are trying to operate based on memory rather than actually having structure and systems and processes in place as well. Do you have any like data, and you might not have the answer to this just now, but like if you take a kind of customer who's operating on spreadsheets and things and they move to a system like this, like you're going to see immediate like kickback on like quote conversion rates and things like that. Do you have anything or just from the conversations you've had?
We kind of, we always do it on a kind of an average, and we do ask the question, but we see kind of significant improvement, as much as 60% sometimes in time that's saved from just having it in someone's head to just having it in a system. And it doesn't even have to be anything sophisticated in Clarity. We can just use it quite simply, your internal prices, your labor, your materials, put them together, and away you go. You've got a price. We don't care what you sell it for. All we care about is how much it costs. So we just give you that transparency in the system. So, it just saves so much time. But typically about 60%.
I'm smiling because every time I have this conversation if I onboard a new client, and then they'll come back and say, we convert about 75-80% of all our quotes. When we start digging into it, it's never anywhere near that. It's usually 30-40. And again, we're aspiring. That's a kind of figure, 60-70% is where you want to be striving for.
Absolutely.
But it's never, ever, ever as high as what they think it is until they start measuring it.
No, absolutely. And, sometimes so many business owners, sometimes when I go back in after I've sold it, because I always make sure that I do go back and make sure I see the difference. But you look at the order book, production, for example, then they've got a healthy order book. And you think, wow, profitable business, doing well, many jobs. But when you actually start digging in and going, well, actually, are you though?
Yeah.
Really? And I remember speaking to a business owner again, and he kind of got budget from a client and just put the quote out for the budget of the client. And he put the job through manufacturer, and I'm just like, well, how do you even know you're profitable? What did you do? And he was like, well, it got to budget. He said, so I just didn't charge him for the artwork just so we could get it into budget. And I was just like, all right, okay. So how many jobs do you have where you've cut corners to bring the costs down without actually, you're just not protecting the business at all.
No.
And because you didn't have any transparency. So, and that's what we do, and put that transparency in. So,
I think Craig's got a question for us as well.
I've got one just before we come in though, because it ties in with again a lot of what you do in terms of having the MIS system. It gives you access or visibility of stock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember I've got one of those.
Yeah.
The time you placed taken an order, someone else has already sold it for you. But I think from your point of view, that speed and accuracy of taking a quote from seeing a client and getting a quote, how important is that to closing the sale at the end of it?
It's almost like you've seen my slides for this afternoon's
Almost.
presentation, Jack. Massively important. And I've actually looked at some data recently, and I think it was something like if you responded to a customer's quote requests, I think within the first 15 minutes, and again, if you've got a system there that help you do that, you've got a 73% higher chance of winning that job. But what I would say, and I'm going to cover this in this afternoon session as well, but it's all about the context. We're really guilty of just being commodity order takers without actually getting context into what the job's been used for and asking the right conversations. So one of the things I'm speaking about later is actually kind of giving a process step by step to follow, because we jump in too quickly with trying to get the price. And I think if you can ask the right questions at the right time in that process, actually the price becomes irrelevant, because you've positioned yourself as that trusted advisor that I always speak about as well. So speed is definitely important, but with the right setup.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I know Craig is waiting patiently.
I'll come and sit down. It's more comfortable.
It's my brother from another mother.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment, by the way. I was going to say, coming at it from a slightly different perspective, information is king, as they say.
Yeah.
We often get to talk to people who are in the last throes of business ownership, and the fact that data that you can provide them with to know when the valuation of their business. So the sales technique, you said people have this information in their head. So I'm going to price that job, and I've always dealt with that customer. I know what the budget is, so I'll knock 10% off that, 5% off that. I don't really know what my true costs are. When you come to sell a business, that's the first thing they're looking at on the sheet. So is that part of the process? Because actually, I would say that a lot of business owners are reluctant to get their staff to understand the mechanics behind the process of the CRM.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, absolutely. And and we do come across those businesses that are kind of at the end of, I'm going to say end of life. It sounds a bit dramatic, but succession plan. There you go. And as you said, knowledge is power. And obviously, if you're selling the business, then that knowledge is more vital than ever, because they all want money when they sell it. It's a lot of the businesses as well that we deal with. They don't necessarily sell them. They're very, very family-run businesses, so they're being handed down generations and generations. And equally, the data is as important to get it out of your head so you can continue to thrive. And it's that platform, isn't it, to kind of elevate from the beginning, accelerate successfully from the beginning. But absolutely, in terms of in life and business as a whole, that data is even more important, and having it right from the beginning. And I can't stress this enough, and getting the foundations right at the beginning to scale is so, so important, because I think sometimes, and we're all guilty of kind of short-term vision and just putting something in for today. But actually, as the business is growing and evolving and years and years pass by and you want to sell it, if you put the platform and the foundations in place right at the very, very beginning, then that business will no doubt be even more valuable compared to a business that hadn't had those foundations right in the first place.
I was going to ask one other question, because again, we used to get lots of pushback about populating the database. We found most suppliers in our supply chain were happy to provide us with information. And then it's the case of keeping it up to date. How simple is that process?
Very. To be fair, I'm just a salesperson, so my job's the easy bit. As Clarity sells itself, it's that good. It comes, the difficulty comes with implementation, and that's their headache. And obviously, we do as much as we can. A lot of businesses will have a lot of legacy data and spreadsheets here, spreadsheets there. Someone's in someone's head. And what we do is we obviously have access to William Smith. We have their price list. So, some of the top suppliers as well. So that kind of makes our life easier, because we could just import it into the MIS from the off. So that's really, really good. And then ultimately, we just encourage our customers to reach out to their suppliers. We can import the data very, very quickly. And then obviously they know what their labour is. So it's just a case of populating it with that. With regards to keeping it up to date, there's a mechanism within Clarity that allows you to update prices. So in the price list, you can update it by a percentage, by a supplier, by a flat rate, however it is you're being determined, dictated to by the suppliers. So we make it as easy as we can to populate it and to keep it up to date with the latest prices.
Just to add on to what you were saying as well, Craig, like we actually done a training session on this a couple of months back, but I'm trying to get the people that we're working with in the mindset of working towards that exit, even if the exit's not in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And you see them kind of pulling back because it terrifies them at the prospect of that. But there's a client I'm working with just now who is working towards exit. And we've been working with an acquisition specialist. And we're now having to backtrack a little bit and put all these systems and processes in place because they reckon they can get an extra 15, 20% on the sell value of that business by doing the things that we probably should have done a lot sooner. So you should always be thinking about that exit, even if it is 10, 15, 20 years down the line. But I think it typically as small business owners, we're just so focused in the now. So important.
And I'd really endorse what you're saying there because that's just a huge asset. You'd never walk away from your house. You bought a house, you just throw the keys in the canal. You want to sell it. Why would you do that with a business that has a true value? You can show its turnover year on year on year. Yes, everyone's going to tell you you can grow it. My argument would be, why haven't you grown it? In that? But if you've got the data to hand and it's there in black and white, and you can show somebody the process, that's the biggest thing for me that this does. It's not now in my head. Because I can look at a sign and give you a rough idea because you're time served. I want someone to be able to come in and understand that process. And actually, if I want to give a discount, what difference is it going to make to my margins? I can afford to drop 2 or 3% to win the work because this month because I'm not quite as busy as I'd like to be. Or actually, I might want to put it up. And what impact is that going to have? Sorry,
No, you're right. You're right. What you're saying. And I think just going back to that foundation piece as well and making sure that things are right from the off. So many times, particularly here, we've had business owners, it's probably a bit too complicated for us at the minute. We're just starting out. We don't need software. And I'm just thinking, no, now is the time. Don't put it off. Just put it in. Put the software in now and trust me, that's it. Because I think business owners have different objectives. Some, we call them lifestyle businesses where they're quite happy just to turn over enough for a holiday, I'd say. But then you've got some real aspirational businesses. And I think it doesn't matter where you sit. You need the MIS platform to get to wherever it is that you want to get to.
100%.
Yeah. We're quite finished yet. Do we have any more questions on?
Hello. Hi.
Hi there.
I'm Ruth. Thank you for the opportunity. I was just thinking earlier when you were talking about marketing and you were talking about, when it comes to acquiring clients and working with the clients that you have and that people tend to look away from that. But with our business right now and the client that we have a solid base with them considering we monopolize that market. But the thing is, we're looking at going away from there. We want to look at new waters. And that has been challenging because what we're doing so far is cold calling adverts. And we get a few birthdays here and there and things like that. But it's not as if we are in that market yet. It's just trivial. It's just new or something. We don't usually do this when we get an order like that. So how do you go from a market that you're used to a market that you've never done at all?
Do you want me to take this one or do you want to go?
Right, no,
We'll both go. You go first.
Right.
Great question. First of all, marketing I think it's always going to be difficult, but it's cold calling particularly. We do cold calling and it works. We also do lots of kind of e-shots and things like that. The only thing that I can liken it to when we kind of started Clarity, we started predominantly as sign software. So we made just sign making software and we evolved it over the years into digital print. So we kind of moved away from signage into digital print. The one thing, maybe the advice that I would give to you is maybe not leap, and I don't know what your thoughts on this are, Colin, maybe not leap into something completely drastic or something that's completely different to what you're doing now, but maybe something where you've got some kind of similarities where you can kind of lead into. So that's what I would suggest, because where we look at Clarity as a brand, it's very credible in an industry. So to move into a completely different industry, you'd have to build that credibility within that new industry. What you're selling now, is there a market for it? The price, I don't know what you do, forgive me, but the price that you sell now in your industry, what is that going to sit in the new industry? So there's a lot of research that you would need to do. Who are the competitors in that market? So it becomes quite a complex to solve. So what I would suggest is maybe just go into something that's similar, not completely different, unless you've got a real good proposition that you know would work. That would I would go with that.
Okay. Kind of pick up on the back of that then. So, yeah, I think first of all, make sure there's profitability in that new sector that you want to go after. But so when it comes to the marketing, I kind of teach like a process around a kind of 8-stage kind of customer journey. And I think us as an industry, we're very guilty of, we kind of put our name out there and then we just hope the sales are going to come in. And the one thing we don't do, so it's kind of stages 2 and 3 in this particular roadmap, which I can show you after this session if you like. But we don't spend enough time engaging and adding value. And especially if you're moving into a new market, you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to positioning yourself as the go-to company that you want that new market to come. So I think spending a lot of time creating value, understanding that customer segment that you want to service, and then once you've done that properly, then you kind of go for the sales. So I would, as you say, Sam, kind of don't rush into it, but what time you do have to do on that just now, spend creating a lot of content that's going to add value and showcase yourself as the go-to company you want that sector to come to. Does that answer? Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you. Thank you.
There we go. Any more questions from the floor? I think you've done a grand job. Thank you very much, both of you.
got one up?
Ah, Mark, you do have a question.
Mark's got one.
I'm going to go across the camera. Sorry.
Do you want to come and sit down, Mark?
Come and sit down.
Yeah.
Again. I've got my bag with me. I'm on the road. Hello, Sam. I'm Mark. Hi. I work for Fujifilm. And when it comes to software, one thing we suffer from, and you may as well, and customers do as well, is what we call mission creep.
Okay.
Where you think you know what the customer wants. They think they know what they're getting. And as you go through it, you realize, oh, they thought it would do this, and they thought it would do that, and they thought it would do the other. How do you make sure that doesn't happen with Clarity?
Great question. So we make sure that the sales process is watertight. So it starts with, we quantify everything within an inch of its life. So if we get an inquiry or any interest in the software, we spend probably the most amount of time ensuring that the customer, first of all, they actually have a need and they actually are looking for an MIS and not something else, such as some kind of artwork approval software or something else where they think, oh, actually, is this what we're looking for? So we take, well, personally, I take a lot of time in understanding that business. Is the need actually what we're offering? And if it is, great, that's the first tick in the box, we can explore it. And then I spend a lot of time kind of really understanding the business and their processes and ensuring that there's a fit. And one thing that I've kind of learned as I've got a little bit older and a little bit more, I mean, I've been with Clarity for 20 years, is just having that confidence to walk away. And yeah, absolutely. And I've never been scared of doing that, because what I don't want to do is waste their time, their money, their effort. And more importantly, we're still putting a system in place. And I've made these mistakes in the beginning of my career and it didn't work. Sales is rubbish, Clarity is rubbish. So it's kind of like we end up stripping it out and they move away. And it's just kind of like, it didn't take me long to learn. Actually, that's not the way to do it. So we spend a hell of a lot of time ensuring that there's a fit before we sell it. And when they sign on that dotted line, we know that it's 100% right. And don't get me wrong, we'll always get the odd one that comes back and we need to do a bit of tweaking or we need to do a bit of this. And that's fine. We've got a good bunch of guys. And because we develop the software ourselves in-house, sometimes we have that flexibility to make those changes. So don't tell Deb I've said that, for God's sake. But yeah, it starts with the sales, making sure it's watertight in the qualification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Are we done? Come to the outro, Jack, or are you going to do it?
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do an outro. That's fine. Well, there may be others. I may have missed another person. May not. There may not be there. So look, thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you for having us.